welcome to A Dose of Positivity. You guys, I am so excited to introduce you to our guest, Rita Jean Fleming, who is a Regenerative Health and Agriculture Specialist. But before we do that, I just have a couple of announcements, and I also wanted to share with you some very important, beautiful things that to make us all be in the right mindset for this incredible call, and also for what's happening in the world today. We know that there's a terrible situation happening in Ukraine right now, and we are finding ourselves in another state of fear if we allow that to happen, driven by media and also these horrible circumstances. And when we come here and we gather here each week, we are dampening not the reality of what's happening out there, but we are blessing it energetically with love and compassion and with a sense of our own personal well-being, so that we are part of the soul, S-O-U-L, solutions, and not the problems. Because the media is going to constantly try and do this. The societies, the global society of they, whoever they are, trying to weaken the masses. And actually, what I'm going to show you is kind of really interesting. This is a colony of oyster mushrooms, and you're wondering, what is she talking about? How does this relate to the world? Well, it does relate to the world. Here we are on top. We are the fruit. We are part of the mycelium. This is a block of mycelium, and the mushroom is actually the fruit. And as we all know, because we've talked about in the past, the G bombs, the real bombs that we should, if we all focused on, are grains, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. And I did say grains at the beginning, but I meant to say greens, but greens and grains. So it could be a Gigi bomb. And when you look about it, I mean, like, here we all are, like, under the earth. There are 80% of the world. And for people who are watching, listening to this on a podcast replay, you're not going to be able to see these beautiful myceliums, but you can go to our YouTube station and see these incredible things. These are about a week in the process, these beautiful oyster mushrooms, which I'll be eating. But this one block will make 4 pounds of positivity and mushrooms. And I am focused on the nourishment of what is beneath our feet, that 80% of the earth that is tied together by mycelium, which the soil, and then the veins of the earth are like the mycelium. The soil is our skin. And without it, if we didn't have any skin and we didn't have any veins, oh my gosh, what would we be? We wouldn't. So for right now, for all of us to get through these challenging times, and to 20% of the time, like 20% of this mushrooms grow above the soil or above the mycelium layer that we get to eat and nurture. But it's that soul level, that 80% that we're being dictated by this 20% up here that is trying to control us and put us in the state of fear, which is impacting the health and the well-being of ourselves and all those around us. And that's why we come here for a dose of positivity. We come here for a reality check. We come here because we know things are real and happening out there, but we have a choice how we embrace those things. We have a choice how we bring those into our body and how we respond when we're out in the world. And I am here responding with that 80% of love and 80% of joy that is going to help all of us fruit. And I know Rita Jean has the same sentiment. And so with that, what I would like to also invite you to do right now, as we always start each day, is just to get grounded and take a couple of in your nose breaths and out your nose. Oh, my mushrooms just took a slide. So you are just calm and relaxed and come into your place. And I'm going to read a little bit from Conscious Cures, just about 5 minutes. And I invite you to just close your eyes, take a sip of your beverage, listen to these positive words. And then I'm going to give Rita a proper introduction and we will get started with this interview. Okay? Rita, thank you. So this is in the Conscious Cures book. This is under Food and Drug Solutions. Media is like a drug, a bad drug right now, and we're addicted to it. So I'm starting with a quote from Bill Mollison, who is the father of permaculture, research, and biology. Please sit back and relax and take this in. Although the problems of the world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. Food is sacred. Food is medicine and not a disposable commodity. There are endless opportunities to significantly expand the efforts to ensure people have access to healthy food. Growing and purchasing food produced locally is not only more beneficial for our immune system, but also our communities, our food supply chain, our economy, and Mother Earth. Raising quality food, medicine, and stewarding the land is an honorable and necessary profession. It will take a concerted effort, determination, and courage to replenish the soil and to reset humanity's mindset. Things we can do. Master home health remedies. Health is our greatest wealth. We can choose to build our immune systems and we can learn to stay healthy. Home health remedies are worth mastering and we cannot find them in a pharmacy. Staying at home during the lockdown has been the perfect time for me to learn about these useful time-tested remedies, like taking an Epsom salt bath to relieve aching muscles and to reduce my nerves. Then there's the miracle cure from baking soda and apple cider vinegar. Folk remedies may not cure COVID, but they can make you feel better about releasing the symptoms. And Rita's going to be talking about some other incredible remedies soon. So I'm going to just skip to one other paragraph because we're going to be talking about regenerative health and regenerative agriculture on this session of A Dose of Positivity. Another thing we can do is to support our local farmers and regenerative agriculture. When people build a connection with their regional farmers, things are better. Or better yet, you can become one. Supporting local farms will create more resilient communities and economies. It takes power away from the mega corporations and their unsustainable practices and gives people the power. As we rebuild our economy, think of food, energy as a source of self-reliance. We must encourage those young farmers, considering that a farmer's average age is 58 years old. We desperately need younger farmers who are open to learning and devoted to regenerative farming practices and are aware of the importance of interweaving nature's systems and cycles. So thank you for taking in a dose of Conscious Cures and relaxing and sitting back with me and enjoying some pieces from my book. And now, without further ado, I am super excited to introduce you to Miss Rita Jean Fleming, who is a Regenerative Detoxification Specialist, and she promotes tapping into your unique genius, your innate intelligence, and the power of nature to transform your life from the inside out. She serves as a conduit for life-changing solutions to reach the hands of those who are praying for change. Rita got into regenerative detoxification to heal her body. She was told she would never run or get back to normal activities after a near-death accident at 19 years old. After 10 years of looking for solutions, she turned to regenerative detoxification, and she was able to 100% get out of chronic pain, regenerate her brain, her spine, her nervous system, and transcend PTSD symptoms. Her passion led her into the subject of also soil health. As she says, we are only as healthy as our soils. And over the last 2 years, she has been part of a community focused on regenerative solutions for our health, the planet, and for business. Like me, Rita understands that regenerative business models give back to our communities and our ecosystems instead of extracting from them. Rita helps change makers and visionaries create health, financial sovereignty, all while living on purpose. Thank you for being here, Rita Jean. And I just absolutely love this. You sent this quote in an email to me, and I just have to read it before you come on because it'll just psych us all up, okay? And this is a quote. These are words by Solene, and I don't know who this person is, but she goes, I can just imagine whoever she is, I'm going to read it like I heard it. But darling, we weren't given this wild soul just to merely exist. Our mission is to shake up the world, turn it upside down, and show our fellow humans the difference between breathing and being alive. And thank you for sending that to me, Rita. And thank you everyone for being here today. And Rita Jean, I am going to ask you to just come in and just share with us how you got into regenerative health beyond your accident when you were 19, and how you got to where you are right now with your life, your career, your business, your health.
Thank you so much, Donna, for having me here. I'm just so honored, and I just love what you read from your book. It was incredibly relaxing and soothing and just so true. You know, we're faced with so many complexities, but the solutions are there in our backyard, and they are simple. And if we can come together as community and share this education, that's what I'm all about. And yeah, I'm so passionate about sharing regenerative health because it completely transformed my life. I mean, I went from being in a chronic state of pain on a daily basis, and that was being really healthy, like doing all the solutions, eating well, you know, growing my own food, working with Eastern medicine, working with Western medicine, and just turning over every stone I could, you know, physically and emotionally to find solutions. And so regenerative health, once I learned about it, I studied with Dr. Robert Morse. He's my mentor, and everything just aligned. Like, it made so much sense. He was stating things that I hadn't heard anybody talk about, and yet they were so simple. It was getting back to our biology, getting back to our chemistry, getting back to supporting all of the systems of our body. And something that I hadn't known before learning about regenerative health was how important our kidneys are, because our kidneys are what eliminate the majority of our lymphatic waste or our lymphatic congestion. And we're only as healthy as, one, what we're inputting into our body, from the air we're breathing to the food that we're eating to the relationships that we're in and we surround ourselves with, and also to what our bodies are not eliminating. So supporting those elimination pathways are crucial. And so in learning about this and learning about how to actually clean up my lymphatic system, which then translated into supporting my endocrine system, supporting my parathyroid gland, which is in charge of our calcium utilization and absorption, which translated into rebuilding my spine. You know, if our parathyroid is weak, and we all come in with different genetic dispositions. That was my genetic disposition that I came in with. that is what created scoliosis in so many of my family members, varicose veins, prolapsed organs. And in being able to address this through food, through herbs, through aligning with the principles of nature, through cleaning up my lymphatic system, I was able to address my spine and my injuries. And so yeah, it's just beautiful, when we work with one element in the chemistry of our body, how that has a domino impact on the rest of our well-being, from physical to emotional. So yeah, that's how I got into it, is just my own, looking for solutions and studying everything I could find. I studied medical anthropology in school. I grew up with yoga and alignment. So I've had an exposure to many different modalities of health and wellness and healing. And this was just the key that really unlocked it for me and allowed me to regenerate my body and get back to thriving.
Oh, you guys, everybody who's listening to Rita right now, she's the person who has helped me bring my kidney creatine, what is it, that word, creatines, or yeah, I have the very first stages of kidney disease for my age, that my blood work came back about a year and a half ago, and I was like at 42, and you're supposed to be more like at 80 at my age. And so I went to a kidney specialist, what are they called? Anyway, I went to a kidney specialist, and I've been had been searching for ways to support my kidney. And I found Rita about a year ago. We were on a summit together, and she was really impressed with my call, and I was really impressed with her call on the summit. And we reached out afterwards, and I was sharing with because she does free calls for health, wealth, and transformation. And everybody, until you'll put in the link that Rita provided for us, if people want to give Rita a call, because it just totally blew my mind. Everything like what she was just saying, which we'll get into talking more. But I don't even think you know this, Rita, but it's been a year and my points are already up 10 from everything that I'm doing, extra cherry juice. And you guys, usually when I'm on here, you'll always notice I'm always sipping a beverage, and it's always cherry juice, and I mention it, but I'm out of cherry juice because my husband's doing it, so it's coming. But I just want to say that I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more alive. And because I know I'm nurturing my kidneys. So speak a little bit more about the kidney function and the lymphatic system, and what foods, things that you recommended for me, and just go a little deeper into that, because I'd like to learn a little more too, honey.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I have 6 basic principles of regenerative health, and these principles are what allowed me to get out of pain and get back to my quality of life. And now I have 0 pain. I'm back to my athletics from when I was in high school. I'm just, I feel amazing. And I see a question in here. Do you believe that scoliosis can be reversed? And 100% I do. And that comes back to, again, the chemistry in our body, which we'll talk about, our lymphatic system. And when you clean up our internal terrain, when we get our body into an alkaline chemistry, and what that means is, there's 2 sides to chemistry. Oops, sorry, let me close.
Anyway, well, that's good news, Robin. And actually, Kevin, I know you're on the call, and there's scoliosis in your family. So this is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's huge on my family too. My mom used to have scoliosis. From my accident, my spine was pulled all the way over to the left side, and it was a complete mess. So basically, when we get our body into an alkaline chemistry, that allows for cellular absorption of nutrients. So if you were to look under a microscope at your blood cells, in an alkaline environment, you would see your cells flowing freely like in a river, and that means they're able to absorb their nutrients, which is really important for cellular health. And our bodies are made up of trillions of cells and blood and lymphatic fluid. And so our thyroid, our liver, our skin, our organs, our brain, our kidneys, our tissues, they're only as healthy as our cells are. So cellular health is number one. It's foundation. And in an acidic environment, we will see that all of the cells are clumped together. It creates coagulation. That's where all of the minerals and fats and heavy metals and toxins actually bind together. And what happens there is it stops our cells from absorbing the proper intake of nutrients as well as oxygen. And our cells need carbon and simple sugars and oxygen to create cellular energy. And with that cellular energy, that's how our cells repair and regenerate, eliminate wastes, which is what is weakening them, and allow for that absorption of nutrition, which is what strengthens them. So, the health of our organs, our glands, our tissues are really a reflection of our internal environment, that chemistry, how much nutrients our body is absorbing at that cellular level. So that's a really important piece, and fresh fruits are some of the best and most cleansing foods for your lymphatic system, specifically lemons and grapes, and then cherries and watermelon are some of the, Donna's got it right there, are some of the best foods for your kidneys and getting that kidney filtration. And of the hundreds and hundreds of clients I've worked with, I haven't yet met anyone whose kidneys are properly eliminating. And we can put this in a follow-up email, like how to test to see if your kidneys are filtering. But what that means is if your kidneys are actually eliminating that lymphatic waste. And if they're not, then we get this build-up of lymphatic congestion in our body, which means inflammation is all it is. That's what that translates into. And when we get our kidneys filtering, we're eliminating those inflammatory sources. And that's when we start to get into regeneration and repair. And so as you start to get into that alkaline environment, I've seen people who's had, one leg 3 inches longer than the other because of misalignment, and their body gets into that proper chemistry and they start to move into alignment. And then working with the different endocrine system glands, like your parathyroid, we need to really support that with specific herbs and foods and nutrients, because that's also what impacts that scoliosis. So basically, in simplicity, it comes down to the chemistry of your body and, the related endocrine system that impacts that health. So for instance, if you're dealing with anxiety, that's a reflection of our adrenal gland health. And our adrenal glands are what produce neurotransmitters to impact our nervous system health, to impact our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system. So, our ability to concentrate and focus, that comes back to our adrenal gland health, as well as our gut microbiome health. So flooding the body with fresh fruits, fresh veggies, veggie juices, fresh herbs. That's what our body recognizes because it's a whole chemistry. It's not an isolate, like an isolated vitamin. Our body doesn't know what to do with that because nothing in nature comes in and isolates, and we are part of nature. So a lot of those isolates actually just get built up in our lymphatic system, creating more inflammation and more problems down the road. So what we're working with is whole foods, because our body knows what to do with it, and working with the different systems of the body. And then the next piece that I found was so important, and this really just came into my awareness in the last few years, is soil health, like Donna was talking about. You can eat the best foods in the world. You can, really be supporting your body systems. But if those foods are nutrient deficient, if they've been grown in soil that is dead or not thriving or is nutrient deficient, then that food is only as healthy as the soil. And since the introduction of glyphosate into our environment, which some of you may be aware of, it's the main ingredient in Roundup. And, they've been spraying that since the 70s in our agriculture systems. And glyphosate, what it does is it's an herbicide, but it also kills off the microbiome of our soil. It kills off the microfungi, the microbacteria that break down the nutrients for our plants to absorb. and it stops our absorption of our essential amino acids, which are our building blocks. So really, if we want to get healthy, it actually goes back to soil health and where our food comes from. And that's why working with regenerative soil practices, regenerative agriculture, practices that are rebuilding our soil health, creating healthy ecosystems, creating as much biodiversity in the environment, that's actually going to be the biggest key to creating the medicinal properties of that food. And the other really interesting component is we are connected to our ecosystems. We are connected to soil health. So just as glyphosate impacts that microbiome diversity of the soil, it does the same in our bodies. And we're all exposed to glyphosate on a daily basis. It's in our parks, it's in our schools, it's in our food, it's in our air, it's in our water, and it acts as an antibiotic in our gut, so killing off that natural diversity. So what we're working with together is detoxing that glyphosate out of the body, and it's with the only clinically proven thing to, herbs to detox it from the body. And what that does is it allows the restoration of that natural biodiversity. And we need that in order to have a healthy immune system, and as well in order to produce our serotonin and our dopamine. So 90% of our serotonin and 50% of our dopamine is produced in our gut, and it requires that healthy gut microbiome diversity to develop these. So yeah, soil health and gut health are completely interrelated. And the soil microbes actually communicate to our gut microbiome, and our gut microbiome communicates to the mitochondria in our cells, and then the mitochondria in our cells communicate to each other to create this cellular communication. So we're only as connected and healthy as our soils are.
Thank you so much. That was so right on. And I'd like to just emphasize too, getting back to that 80% of our immune system also lives in our guts, 80%. And when we're talking about all this health and what's going on with the viruses and just in health in general, that gut microbiome, just like the soil, 80% of life lives beneath our feet. So we are nature. We are not part of it. We are part of it, but we are actually nature. And when we start thinking like that, maybe we'll all start digesting our food better and make better choices. And the other thing that I really, really appreciated you bringing up right then was about the glyphosate, because what they have found with all these people, like all of a sudden who are totally intolerant to wheat, it's it's not so much the gluten in the wheat, it's the reaction of the gluten to the glyphosate that is creating all of that intolerance. So,
yes.
I see you have to go jump in, girlfriend.
Oh, no, you're speaking to it. And one of the things that glyphosate does is within 20 minutes of exposure to it, it creates leaky gut. So the opening of our tight junctions of our gut. And when we have leaky gut, all of a sudden our toxins and our food are leaking into our immune system, into our lymphatic system. And that's why we're seeing this raise of chronic diseases. In the 70s, 1 in 70 children were dealing with autism. And today, they're expected that by 2035, 1 in 2 children will be dealing with autism. And that is because of this, it actually correlates with glyphosate, and because of this impact that we're having on our gut, which impacts our immune function and our neurological function. So it's really important to look at. And that's what, one of the things that we're doing is working to remove that glyphosate, repair that gut microbiome diversity so we can absorb our nutrients. And also what we've seen is people that are dealing with celiac. One of my really dear friends she couldn't even have something touch gluten. Like if gluten touched something on her plate, she would have hives, she would have migraines, she'd be in bed for 3 days. And since, working with this gut microbiome support, she can actually now eat gluten. She still chooses not to, but she can eat it without any impacts. And that's from repairing that gut microbiome. So like you said, so many allergies actually come back to our gut health and our lymphatic system. And if we're experiencing any food sensitivities, any allergies, that is our body's sign to us that we need to clean up our lymphatic system. And in order to do that, we need to support our kidneys and repair that gut microbiome health so that we don't have that leaky gut.
I love that. And before we get into some of these comments in the chat, Rita, I also want to make that total connection of the microbiome of the soil and what we're seeing with climate change and pollution and everything that's affecting our whole entire food system. You're seeing it at the sticker price at the stores. And we can't say one without the other, because our choices are affecting that soil, and that soil, we can also think our choices are affecting our gut microbiome. It's one and the same, and it's can't be emphasized enough.
Agreed. I mean, one of the best things we can do is, grow our own food, have our own garden, support our organic and regenerative farmers, because we can vote with our dollar. And a lot of these, practices that are supporting soil health and biodiversity, it's actually, the statistics are pretty amazing in that you can reverse climate change as you heal our soils, because it's pulling that CO2 out of the atmosphere and into our soils where it belongs. So we're part of a beautiful system. And the more that we can share that, just have this conversation, and some great videos that you can watch with your community. One is Farmer's Footprint from Dr. Zach Bush. We can send you these. Another is Kiss the Ground, is a great one that talks about regenerative agriculture and kind of the implications on a larger level, both on health and on climate. But I definitely recommend checking those out, because we can make a huge impact through our small daily choices and what we put, what we choose to eat and what we put to our dollars towards.
And I would love to put in a plug for my books, Living Like the Future Matters, The Evolution of a Soul-to-Soul Entrepreneur. I go totally into the food system, as well as the book that I read, Conscious Cures to You. And I mentioned both of those resources in my books, and many, many more are also on my website, because I've been doing this since I was an organic farmer in the late 70s. And the more educated we are about our food choices, and the more educated we are about just how valuable the soil is, the greater chance we have as a species to not only survive, but to keep the other species that are desperately clinging on to life too right now. So these are positive things we can do. So how about coconut water? Someone wants to know about coconut water, and we got coconuts here on the Big Island. I want to hear what you have to say about coconut water.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, coconut water is amazing. It's full of electrolytes. It's full of those alkalizing minerals, which are the electrolytes. And so many times our bodies, a lot of us are living in a chronic state of inflammation, and we don't realize it. Anywhere from chronic to an acute state to a subacute state. And our body, when there's inflammation, it eats up our electrolytes. And also our adrenal glands have to overproduce corticosteroids to address inflammation. And so when you're flooding your body with such things as like coconut water, you're actually basically creating a fire hydrant to inflammation, and calming and cooling and supporting the nervous system and the adrenal glands, and giving the body those electrolytes, which get eaten up. And when the body has too much acidosis or inflammation, the body will steal our important alkaline minerals from our bones, from our brain, our nervous system, our connective tissue, in order to create that balance in the body, because the body has to maintain an alkaline balance in the blood. So that coconut water helps to replenish those electrolytes, which is great. Yeah.
That's great. Well, this is so good because I'm loving the comments that are coming in, but can you repeat those 6 principles for us, Rita? Because just one, two, really boom, give us a sentence or 2 of each.
So the first one is alkalinity, which we talked about how important that is. That's when your body starts to go into repair and regeneration and strengthening of cells. When we're in an overly acidic environment, just because our lymphatic system is congested, that's when our cells, our tissues, our glands weaken. The next one is kidney filtration, which we talked about. That's our elimination pathway for those acid wastes and that lymphatic congestion out of the body. And everything from viruses to molds to candida to heavy metals lives in that lymphatic system. And so, even like staph exposure, all of these things can built up in our lymphatic system, and they get suppressed at deeper and deeper levels in our tissues. And so what we're doing in regenerative detoxification is pulling those suppressions out from a chronic space to a subacute space to an acute space to where it's eliminated out of the body and not wreaking havoc anymore. So that kidney filtration, that is, once I got that, and it took me a few months to get my kidneys filtering. And that was, again, going in, like doing everything I had been prepping my body so long for health. But once I got that kidney filtration, that is when I got out of chronic pain. And it took me about 11 months in my journey of adding in these regenerative principles to get my life back. So the next one is soil health, which we talked about. And that's because you can be doing all the right things, but it is hard to get quality nutrition, nutrient-dense foods. And so it was just a couple of years ago that I finally found access to nutrient-dense foods and have been able to share that. And since then, I've seen a 90% increase in my clients' success rate. And that is because, again, we're only as healthy as our soils are. So bringing in that soil health piece is crucial. The next is our gut microbiome support, which we talked about. Our gut, is the foundation of our health. If it is weakened, that's going to impact every other organ, gland, tissue, and immune function in our body. So we need to start with the gut microbiome health, and that's where we can start to address all the other factors, but that's the starting place. And finally, number 5 is cellular ATP. And like I was saying, we need carbon, which is the simple sugars from our fresh fruits and veggies, combined with oxygen, deep breathing, to produce cellular energy. And so if your body is craving sugars or sweets, that is a sign that your cells are needing cellular energy. And so healthy sugars are fresh fruits. Those are simple sugars that your body knows what to do, how to utilize them, how to absorb them, and they're high water content. So I really recommend your subacidic fruits, like your berries and your grapes and your melons, and your acidic fruits like your citrus and your pineapple. And those are astringent and cleansing at the cellular level, but also energizing at the cellular level. And the only way I was able to regenerate my body, it was in such a degraded place. The spinal specialist told me that they'd never seen anybody survive my breaks and injuries. And the way I was able to transform that was by getting enough cellular energy. And that came from flooding my body with these fresh fruits and herbs. So that's cellular ATP. And the final one is endocrine system health, which we touched on. But 75% of dis-ease symptoms are a result of weakened endocrine glands. And so your endocrine glands include your adrenals, your pancreas. Your pancreas produces your enzymes to help you break down and digest your food. So if you're seeing undigested food in your stools, that is showing a pancreas weakness, and we can definitely support that. Thymus gland really impacts your immune system. your thyroid and parathyroid, impacts your hormonal balance, your calcium absorption. And then we have our reproductive organs, the testes and the ovaries, and then the pineal gland, which impacts our sleep, and our pituitary gland, which actually regulates all of the rest of the endocrine system. So, and there's a really interesting connection, like, again, coming back to gut health. If our transverse colon is weakened and congested, that directly impacts the health of your pituitary gland. So working with your endocrine system, which impacts all the other functions of your body.
Whoa. So that sounds like a lot of stuff. And I'm so glad that everybody on the call is going to have to be able to take advantage of getting in touch with you. And, to add to your 6, because those are just like, wow, is I can't stress this enough, that spending time in nature,
yes,
hugging a tree, lying on the ground, walking barefoot, has changed my life. In addition to those 6 things that I work with Rita, I think you could add a 7 as a bonus, because being in nature, the closer we are to nature, the closer we get to our true nature, which helps us get to a more meditative, balanced state, a more understanding of the bigger, the whole solutions that are available to us, because nature has been around long before humankind, lifekind. And we have a lot to learn. When we can see when the earth is sick, it's a direct reflection on how we live. So I just really appreciate you digesting that too, everyone.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that should be a pillar, because basically it is. We're only as healthy as our ecosystems are, and then community would be the 8th pillar.
Yeah, I see that right in the middle, right there, and the beautiful, just like my son, the Ray, popping out, and communities right in there, because nature is one big community. It shows us how ecosystems thrive, and how the diversity and also bringing in diversity in the biodiversity in nature, and how critical that is for survival. And the same thing with our food intake, having all that colors of the rainbow, like you mentioned, and talking about a diet that is rich in diversity. It's so important. And I'd love we just have a short amount of time left, Rita, and I'd love for you to talk about, and this is one of our guests on the call, Robin was saying, like, how do we get these points across to someone who's a denier, like denying how without gushing over, like, with all these big fancy terminology, what is the best way to reach those who are not ready?
I love this question. It's being the example, it's living it yourself, and people see that. They see your vibrancy. They see, because when you get your body healthy in this way, working with these principles, you're actually increasing your electrical conductivity. You're increasing that energy of your cells, which actually translates into your emotional well-being, of experiencing more joy, more love, more alignment. Like, things just start to, oh my gosh, you start to meet all these amazing people and all of these opportunities. So you living it is the best example, and whoever is ready for this information, they will come to you naturally and be like, hey, what are you doing? I want to learn more. Or how, what have you changed? What are some differences that you've made? And you just being that example, maybe adding more fruit into your life is a really, really simple one. Eating it on an empty stomach, because it digests really quickly. And, that's going to impact not only your cellular health, but the quality of your relationships, your patience, and that's contagious. So living it, you don't have to try and, convert, tell anyone how to live. It's just those that are ready and seeking this, they come come to you. You know, they really see that difference and want to make that change. So, you know, you can only lead a horse to water, but they have to.
Well, I just want to just add some humor into this, because laughter is the greatest medicine, right? But just like in that movie, When Harry Met Sally, when she's at the restaurant, if you guys haven't seen that movie, you all should rent it or get it on Netflix for free tonight. When Harry Met Sally, and she's in the restaurant and she's faking having an orgasm. And this people in the restaurant are all looking at her, and she's having this amazing orgasm. And this old lady said, when the waitress came up to her, she said, "I want what she has." So it's kind of like the same thing, you know, when we see that. I mean, don't you want what I have when you're 60? I'm almost 65, almost on Medicare. Or Rita Jean has to recover from an illness. From this accident, when the doctors told her no, and look at her. And if you all go on our Facebook group, and you could put that in the link, if you're not already on the Facebook group, you will see pictures of this woman like throwing melons in the air in her bikini and standing up and doing headstands in the sand. And this is somebody who was never supposed to really walk again or function. And so you all just will be blown away. And if you get to know her even more, you'll hear more stories. But I love, speaking of Tel, she was asking about specific herbs to support the endocrine system. And we didn't go so deep into that. And I think it would be this will be an example of showing what you offer clients and how you work with people to, because everybody has something different. We're all different, right? Every one of us is at a different age group and a different place in our health. And, and actually, while you're explaining this, Rita, if you could talk about the sequential step and order, like when do we gave us those 6 pillars, 7, really 8 with community and the environment. But if you give us, I have always heard, before you do a liver cleanse or a kidney cleanse, you want to make sure you do a digestive cleanse, and since you're a detoxification specialist. But share with us the endocrine system, because that might be some of these herbs might be really good for one person, but maybe not some of the men on the call, right? Mm-hmm. So take it away, honey. Endocrine herbs. I love it.
I mean, the best thing that I can recommend is like hop on a 15-minute free consult or something to see what is going on with you specifically. But what we're doing is we're also guiding people through 30-day transformations where you're flooding your body with nutrient-dense foods, and where you're supporting your endocrine system or supporting your adrenal glands, supporting that nervous system health. So it just depends on what your specific goals are. But some simple ones like licorice is a good adrenal supportive herb that you can take just for a couple of weeks and then pause on. Nettles are amazing for adrenals and kidney health. Eleuthero root is a good endocrine supportive herb. But yeah, again, it just depends on your specific goals. But I do daily maintenance just through superfoods for my endocrine system. Rhodiola is like an adaptogenic herb. That's another good endocrine supportive herb.
And this is really important, why you want to speak with whether it's Rita or a health specialist in this field, because it turns out me, who has kidney problems, but I also have endocrine issues because I have low thyroid, I'm hypothyroid. I was doing licorice for my endocrine system, but it's really hard on your kidneys. And that's why, Rita, you were just saying you do it for a couple of weeks and see how it feels. So like anything that we ever talk about on these shows or health recommendations, it's really important to work one-on-one with somebody, get your blood work done and measure those results. To do that, it's so important. And one of the things I love someone on the show is saying, Alan, thank you for this, be a shining light and attract those in the darkness. Well, it's kind of like getting back to even that, like what are those darkest parts in our body and what herbs or things that we need to attract for the right specific things, because we are all different. And again, we are all at different phases in our lives, just like my mushrooms. So we just have a few minutes left. If anybody has any other questions, and you guys, this will be on our YouTube channel and also on our podcast. And for those of you listening to the replay, please share this with everybody out there. And because this has just been an incredible session. I learned so much, Rita, and I think everybody on the call did too. But getting back to living as an example, and share with us a little bit about the business model. I wanted to bring this to your attention because I am using, Rita is my health coach, and I also have a naturopath and an acupuncturist, and I have a masseuse coming in an hour who primarily works on my lymphatic system. And one of the guest speakers that I'm going to be having on is a person who does trigger point therapy and who really works on all those systems, those pillars that Rita was talking about. So there's many ways to approach it, with food, with supplements, with soil health, time in nature, with doing body work, self-care in that respect. But share with us too, like our careers and what we do with our livelihoods. Until you can put the link in the chat for this. But when I met Rita originally, and I don't have any products in front of me, but she's helping me reclaim my health. She's one of my health practitioners. And, but I started taking some of these supplements that are really and I've been taking supplements all my life, my entire life. My dad popped vitamins since one of my first memories was him taking a handful of vitamins. And so my whole life I've been doing vitamins, and I realized I wasted a lot of money, probably hurt my health. Like Rita was saying earlier, you can't necessarily digest most of these things, and they can actually be hurting your organs. So both my husband and I started doing, this is one of the things Rita does, is works with Purium products. And I started a regime about maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And Kevin, who's recovering from hip surgery, started about 4 or 5 months ago. And he's doing amazing. Kevin, you can say something in the chat if you're there about how incredible you're feeling with what we're doing. This isn't a sales thing. This isn't a sales pitch. This is like, you want to get healthy. You're looking to be an example, but it's also an opportunity for some of the people on the call who are looking for passive income. It is a great way to reach out to your friends, live by examples. So share a little bit about Purium and why it's so different than all the other supplements out there, and how you incorporate that with your iridology. You also incorporate, Rita doesn't just talk about Purium, she talks about all these things. That's why you guys all going to make sure you get on a call with her. So go ahead and share a little bit about the company and why you're so passionate about what you do, honey.
Yeah, I love that, Donna. It was the first thing that really aligned all of my passions and my principles and my care for the soil health under one umbrella. And what we're really working with is one, health, two, planetary health, rebuilding our soils, going 100% plastic free, really leading the way in regenerative business systems where you're uplifting others and their unique genius. And the other is in financial well-being, which is an area that, especially in the last couple of years, so many people have been either struggling in or looking to transition into more meaningful and passionate work. And the reason that I added this in and incorporated this in is, one, it was a huge solution for me at a personal health level. Like I said, even though I was doing all the right things and was able to regenerate my body, I was feeling depleted. And that was with access to my own home garden and with access to farmers markets. And so this was the missing link, and like all the lights just came on in my body. And like I said, I just started to see a huge improvement with all of my clients, from repairing that gut and pulling sulfur out of the body. And like Donna said, I do iridology, and you can see all of your genetics in your eyes. You can see your lymphatic health, your tissue health, your nervous system health, your endocrine system. And through that, I started to see improvements in 2 weeks once adding this nutrient-dense food in, compared to what I'd been working on for 2 years, working with herbs and, organic foods. And it was just so powerful. And I watched my sister, who was dealing with major postpartum depletion and depression after her first baby, go from a state of massive overwhelm and stress to looking like she was 16 years old again. And I was just like, okay, what is going on here? And then I realized how beautiful this business model is in working in collaboration. And in my clinical practice, I'm only able to help about 5 people a day. Whereas with this, collectively, we're able to help hundreds of people. So we're making a way larger impact, providing those solutions at the health level, at the planetary level. And to me, it's been like the deepest personal development work. I've had so much personal internal transformation and alignment with my deeper mission and values, and really truly leaving a legacy now of helping others to not only transform their health, but transform their wealth and their purpose and their passion, and align with others who have, similar core values. And to me, it's so much more than a business. It's a grassroots mission of collectively we're able to make a massive change and divest from the chemical agriculture system and invest into small, organic, regenerative farmers and the work that they're doing with soil health. So yeah, it's just been so powerful. And if any of that aligns with you, or you just wanting to be of greater service or make a larger impact or create a secondary income stream, it's allowed so much freedom in my life, and the ability to help others to do the same. So yeah, definitely available for any questions in that regard as well.
Yay. And the thing that totally won me over when I was talking with her, because I've never done any I was buying this here, or what's on sale, or what. It is the regenerative agricultural piece, and the way that these products are grown, and then the way they're preserved, and the way they're packaged. Everything is in alignment with soil to soul solutions. It is the evolution of soil to soul business practices right there, everything that I preach about and write about. And I thought, there's got to be something wrong with this company, because I'm gonna find it, and it's not gonna work for me. No, none of this stuff does. And it did, and it does. And I'm so glad that not only that, the greatest part about it is the support you get from people like Rita Jean, and there's other people there, because it's not just about the supplements. It's not just about iridology. It's not just about one system. It's about all those pillars that Rita was talking about. And so approaching this from a holistic perspective is really where we want to go. And you can't go wrong with getting in touch with Rita, or get in touch with me or my husband Kevin, and we can talk to you more about our results. But our time is up, Rita, and I just want to thank you so much, and I would love to invite you back. I know everybody who's listening to this has more questions, and I know I do, and you are just such a gift and a dream come true for me and my personal health journey and well-being. And I'm just honored that you're in my life, and that you're making the changes and the differences that you are in the world. And I encourage all of you to go out and make this a positively great rest of your day wherever you are, and to join us again next week for another dose of positivity. Love and aloha.
Aloha. Thank you so much, Donna, and thank you everyone for being here, and I look forward to all the questions that come.